What's up, everybody? I am Brandon, and we got a buttload of video game sales news to talk about today. So the NPD for February 2022 came out last week, and it looks like Elden Ring is absolutely crushing in sales. We got all that and more on another episode of Game Corner. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like what I do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and I'll stop wasting your time. So like I said, the NPD for February 2022 came out at the end of last week-ish, and it gave us some pretty awesome insight to kind of the biggest games of this year and kind of what we can expect to see coming down the road from 2022. So kicking it off with overall game sales, it does look like we're down about 6% as of last year. That being said, keep in mind these are still historically high numbers we've been seeing from the video game market, especially in the past few years now. Since COVID happened, we've been seeing a huge rise in the amount of money that people are spending on video games, obviously since a lot of people were home and kind of had extra income to be spending on that sort of stuff. Obviously with people predominantly returning to work now, it's just kind of hard to have that extra time to, spend in a video game. As well, we're probably seeing this overall drop in game sales mostly due to the shortage of hardware. Obviously nobody can find Xbox Series X's, PS5s, and even Switches for the most part. So we're still kind of waiting out this whole chip shortage situation, and I imagine as that sort of starts to remedy itself, we're going to see these numbers increase again. And obviously with lower hardware sales, we're going to see lower software sales and lower accessory sales, and obviously you can kind of see that across the board here. But obviously take everything I'm saying here with a grain of salt. Obviously we can only go off of what the numbers are saying here, and there is a drop in sales, not by much, but obviously as this chip shortage sort of works itself out, I do think you're going to see those numbers rise up again. I imagine there's still a lot of people out there that are still looking for PS5s and Xbox Series X's. And of course, as more games come down the line for these new consoles, more and more people are going to want to get on board for that. Still historically high numbers for video games we're seeing here, though. It is crazy how much growth this industry has seen, especially in the last few years. And I say it all the time, but once again, it really goes to show how big gaming has become and is continuing to be. It truly is the biggest entertainment industry at the moment and the fastest growing, hands down. So moving on, we're going to take a look at the top 20 games of February, at least sales wise. We had 3 huge open world games that came out in February: Dying Light 2, Horizon Forbidden West, and Elden Ring. And on top of that, at the very end of January, we got Pokemon Arceus, so we're kind of seeing the sales rolling from that as well. Anyway, it's really nice to see these big RPGs at the top here. Obviously, this is going to tell the people who spend money on these games that this is what we want, and we're going to get hopefully more of that sort of thing. These lists are usually pretty populated with stuff like Call of Duty and Madden, FIFA, etc. So I do like seeing more fantasy-based games kind of making the top of the list there. Obviously in our number 1 spot we got Elden Ring, next up is Horizon, and following right after that is Pokemon Arceus. And with Dying Light 2 and Warhammer also making the top 5 slots there, it truly is a pretty kick-ass time to be playing video games. That all being said, we got to talk about Elden Ring here, because it is absolutely crushing the market right now. So of course we don't have like official sales numbers, they just kind of take all this information and throw it into a list for us. So I don't know exactly how many copies Elden Ring has sold, but it's reportedly selling way more copies than Horizon and Pokemon Arceus. It is a multi-platform game, so that does obviously help it. It's on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, so they're going to be able to sell lots of copies in lots of different places. And also keep in mind, people like Nintendo don't actually share their physical copies sold, so obviously Pokemon Arceus could have sold quite a bit more and we wouldn't know any better. And seeing as how Pokemon is usually a pretty big seller, as well as being a huge attach rate on Switches, I wouldn't be surprised to see this continually make sales throughout the year. Back to Elden Ring for a second though, it's really interesting to see it kind of making such big waves in the gaming industry right now because of how difficult these games are perceived by a mainstream audience. While other Soulsborne games have been able to sell quite a few copies and are pretty popular as far as video games go, it definitely has never really been able to break through to that mainstream audience just being so difficult. And it does seem like From Software's open-ended fantasy epic is kind of breaking through that barrier and really reaching an audience that we haven't seen it reach before. An analyst over at NPD Group, Matt Piscatella, who I definitely recommend following if you're interested in game news and analytics at all, even posted on Twitter saying, "Alrighty then, only question left is if Elden Ring can cross the threshold from enthusiast video game players to the mass market. The answer to this question is emphatically yes. It can." So straight from the horse's mouth right there, this game is absolutely just crushing in sales right now, and it's going to be really curious to see when they actually release sales numbers to see how many people are actually buying this game? Obviously, Elden Ring is one of the most anticipated games of the last few years, if not the last decade. I mean, it seriously has reached like cyberpunk levels of cultural phenomenon going on here, and it didn't even have a bad launch, so it's just absolutely raking in the dollars for From Software right now. Not to mention the game is getting near perfect scores across the board from just about every outlet there is out there, and I personally have spent over 100 hours playing this game so far, and I still have tons to do. It definitely has some issues, and I could see how it might not be for everyone, but clearly sales and just sort of the overall hype around this game is sort of proving that all wrong. The game is truly a mastercraft in open world design in every sense of the word, and if you haven't given it a shot yet and you're interested at all, definitely recommend picking that up. As much of good things I have to say about Elden Ring though, we definitely should not sleep on Horizon Forbidden West or Pokemon Legends Arceus. These are both huge first-party titles, one of them being the sequel to a game that sold over 14 million copies and was ported to PC recently and is generally known as one of the greatest games of all time, and the other being a long-awaited change to the formula for Pokemon that people have been kind of criticizing for a very long time, and seems to have kind of struck the right note with its audience. I guarantee you're going to see these games end up making lots of sales over the next year, and especially it's going to be really curious to see when Game of the Year kind of comes around, where all these games are going to end up placing out. As for sales over the whole year, it's looking pretty similar, especially on those top 5 slots there. Obviously we got Elden Ring, then Pokemon, and then Horizon following right after that, with your classic Madden and Call of Duty laid up top there. Once again, in my opinion, it's really cool to see these games kind of crushing Madden and Call of Duty. I think it really goes to show that the wider audience is looking for something new and different, and maybe we're just kind of getting tired of first-person shooters and the same old Madden every year. Even though Pokemon looks like it has kind of overtaken Horizon in the sales here, we should keep in mind that it came out a month prior to Horizon, so it did have a little bit of lead up to sales. And without it having the 2 copies that a Pokemon game normally has, I'm kind of curious to see if that's going to affect its sales in the long run. As of right now, it doesn't seem to be making much of a dent though. Once again, keep in mind that Nintendo doesn't release physical game sales, so it's very possible that Pokemon Arceus has even higher sales than what we see here. And even though Horizon is a absolutely fantastic game in its own right, I definitely believe in the power of Pokemon here, and I think you're going to see this game end up selling a lot more copies. They really seem to have just hit the right note with their audience here, and kind of changing the whole formula of what Pokemon is and could be has really done them a service. And, well, that's about all we have to go through for the NPD for February 2022. We've already seen some of the biggest games of the year come out, and it's only March right now. And it's gonna kind of be interesting to take a look at where all these games stack up as far as sales and Game of the Year conversations go. All I know is that Elden Ring is going to be making a buttload of cash for From Software. These games were already popular, and now it's a straight-up cultural phenomenon. Anyway, I'm Brandon. That's about all the NPD news I have to share with you guys today. We went through overall video game sales as of this year, as well as kind of the top games that have been sold in the month of February, and kind of where I think all of this is leading us to the end. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This is Game Corner, and have a kick-ass week.